So I don't know what to call this. We're just gonna go straight into it.
We're
I had
dropping
an
a
idea
podcast.
calling it "Vibing on the Ground."
Love.
So like just talking with a lot of artists that are in the underground scene.
I love it.
And today we have Gretchen, aka G. How are you
Hello.
today?
I am good. Thank you for coming all the way over here.
Anytime.
I
Anytime.
love it.
Bluegrass Parkway. If anybody knows Kentucky,
I have many a time driven through that.
it's the longest drive. Even though it's like an hour, but it's the longest hour you ever do. Anyway,
Literally.
we are here with G. Amazing person.
Thank you.
We've known each other for about
4 or 5 years, right?
three or four,
3 or 4.
4 years. Last time I saw you was at Junkyard Jam.
Yes.
Which is
Chase
2 years ago.
Through it.
Yep. And I heard a lot of unreleased music.
Yes, they're still unreleased.
A lot of unreleased music. But we'll get to that later.
Yes.
But today we're here to talk to you and get to know you as a person, not only as an artist as well.
Love it.
And so let's start by where you're from.
Okay, I'm from Richmond, Virginia. Grew up there my whole life, and then I went to Belmont down the street from here, actually. That's where I met Landon and all the homies. And so this will be my 9th year here, which is crazy, but I do go back and forth to Richmond, LA all the time. I always make it back to my hometown like at least 3 or 4 times a year. But with work, being able to work from anywhere, that's the beauty of that. And just take my studio and hop on the plane and see the fam. I'm actually going in a couple weeks back there. So
Hey.
yeah.
So how was life growing up in Richmond, Virginia?
I mean, I think that I grew to appreciate it more after I left. And I had an amazing childhood. You know, I went to Godwin High School. Shout out, go Eagles. I think that growing up, especially just as a girl, like, you know, everyone has their own experience and different experiences. Right. But I'm super blessed for the family that I have. You know, my family has always been super supportive of my craft, and my dad is also in a band. He plays drums.
Cool. What?
The Y Bros. He also has been in other bands, Soul Sensations and stuff. So we kind of share that passion. And he was always, also my mom, of course. They were always just telling me to keep going. And I have 2 older brothers, and you know, it was a great childhood, and I'm so appreciative. But I think that certain experiences in high school made me kind of feel bitter towards, you know, where I'm from. And I kind of was in such a rush to leave that I didn't realize how beautiful of a place Richmond is. So now when I'm back, I just appreciate it that much more.
I think everyone has to go through that too. I feel like everyone, especially like in small towns, people are like, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to get out. I want to leave. And then when they leave, they're like, it's
like,
all
wait.
the little things that
Right.
like, came with it. And it's just like, I feel like you do have to leave in order to appreciate where you're from. That's kind of how I felt, because I'm really from Louisville, but I moved to Lexington to go to school, and been in Lex for so long. Like, it's so much more compressed, and Louisville is so much more like, it's like spread out and much bigger, and it's just a lot more diverse.
100%.
But Lexington is diverse, but it's still kind of like compressed, and I definitely
feel that.
I relate that on a high level too. So definitely.
I think I had a little bit of an ego, not an ego, but I was just wanting to chase after this dream so badly, and I don't know. I kind of just forgot where I came from a little bit, because I was just so focused on what was next rather than what I had already and what I still have. And I'm so thankful for my upbringing and for the family that I'm from, because I feel like that's such an important part of a deciding factor, and if you go after your dreams or if you don't. And I feel like I was always given that confidence, even when I was terrible, like at what the singing and everything. But you have to go through that phase, and you have to continue working on your craft to see any kind of progress. But I think that support from family and friends is make or break in you continuing to pursue that.
1000%. So how's life been treating you so far? Like just now?
I am in a much better place now than I have been for the past 2 years. Outside of music, well, obviously it directly affects music and my consistency with that. You know, I was telling you a little about my car getting stolen, and taxes kind of got me last year. And, I think with finances as an artist, you know, we're hungry. Creatives, all of us alike. We're starving. We want to get after our craft and make moves, but real life doesn't stop outside of that. I want to say, I think like last January when I was living in LA, that was kind of the start of when things kind of went downhill in my life. And I had gotten on medication for anxiety, and that was helping me kind of stay afloat. But I really do feel so blessed that I was able to stay positive throughout the entire thing. Usually I kind of see things black and white. If one thing goes wrong, everything else is wrong. Like, even if it has nothing to do with music, I'm like, I'm not going anywhere with my career type thing, because I feel like it might be self-sabotage in a way. But I have had an amazing support system, obviously amazing boyfriend, family, and I have a really strong relationship with God, and I think that has grounded me and kept me, you know, humble and patient with what He has for my life. But I would like to say I'm out of the woods for the most part now. I'm feeling amazing emotionally, and living out on my own for the first time and it's crazy because Megan, she got married last night. She was my roommate for 6 years. Wow. Only roommate I ever had in Nashville, besides living on campus. And it's been a crazy switch up in routine and life, but I feel like I've grown so much just as a woman and as a creative, being able to live on my own. And so it's been, obviously highs and lows happen at the same time all the time, but I'm just grateful for being able to kind of stay
like that middle ground, like
not let it shake me too hard. I think things are going pretty well for now.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And I totally relate on like the whole car thing. I had a whole car
my gosh,
situation.
you know, we were just talking about this. It's crazy.
Life does happen, and it's just like sometimes you're like, is this supposed to happen on my path?
Right.
Like, but honestly, if God put it there, then it's supposed to happen. So I'm just kind of letting it be, but just going through it.
I saw this quote the other day. I think it was actually Paige Becker's UConn player, and she's on UConn. I just got into basketball. Landon got me into women's basketball, and like if I'm wrong on her team, we're cutting that. But I think she's on UConn. And actually, I want to check really quick. But the quote was, "I did all I could, so God could do all I couldn't." And let me see. Yeah, I don't want to look like a poser, you guys. I just got into... Yeah, she's on UConn. What am I saying? I'm like, yeah, of course I knew that. She said in an interview, I did all I could so God could do all I couldn't. And I just think that's so powerful because my dad always told me growing up, and still does, do your best and God will do the rest. It's like, it is never going to go by what your plan, what you think it's going to be, but that's where you grow as a human, and like, you know, the patience and consistency, even when you're not seeing anything out of it, it's like trusting that blind faith that He has a plan for you. And that's how I keep the peace, and I'm able to find joy in any situation because I know that this isn't all that life is going to be.
Exactly. Plus, like, it's, again, like you go through a lot, and then you try to like change the outcome of things, and just can't do it.
I have control issues too. Like I really do, and releasing that control, especially this past year, was so freeing. Even like within my music, when things weren't going as planned, and kind of still aren't right now. It's like it feels so much better to release the control rather than trying to control it. Like, oh my gosh, for yourself, like just taking that weight off. Like you deserve to not feel like as stressed as that all the time. Like, of course there's going to be stress, but you don't have to feel like you don't have to make it worse for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't try to like push it overdo it.
100%.
So growing up, was there kind of like any, like, was your parents like did they have like any like music influence on you? So yes. Well, a few different places. So my dad really put me on to like Beatles, Chicago, Rolling Stones. Like he loved, you know, that era of music. And like they also played a bunch of like covers like with his band and stuff. So I was always put on to like the oldies in that sense. My first concert was Rolling Stones, and I went with my family. And then my brother, actually my oldest brother, Will, he put me on to Birdman, Lil Wayne, Eminem when I was like 7 years old.
And I just remember feeling that, just their flows and the way that they syncopated and put certain syllables into it, just I felt something from it. Specifically Pop Bottles by Birdman and Lil Wayne. Like it is a raunchy song, but I was, listening. I have this song that I'm gonna be putting out called 5 p.m. and one of the lines says, I was wearing Lily Pulitzer listening to Birdman on the way to church camp. And that's true. I feel like it's always been such a contradictory thing in my life. And I think I was always afraid to start rapping because I was like, well, I'm a girl. I feel like, like I don't really have, I've been through things in my life, but I've had a pretty stable childhood, a pretty stable life. I was a preppy girl, it just like didn't really make sense. I felt like, but as I continued listening to the music that my brother put me on to, my dad, and then finding people through YouTube growing up, I was able to find my voice through that and eventually gained the confidence. I just never thought that, obviously I'm a singer too, but with rapping, I just never had the self-esteem and the confidence to put out any rap music, even though I was drawn to it from such a young age. But oh my gosh, yeah, my family... And I also obviously listened to Wilson Phillips, Dixie Chicks with my mom growing up. So just kind of like a little bit of everything. Yeah.
I feel like that makes like a really good artist. Like I love artists that can like sing and rap and do a lot of other things. I feel like that you can gravitate towards so many different like audiences.
Absolutely.
And it's like it brings a lot more people to you. And I feel like nowadays people will like just love anything.
Right.
Everything,
I feel like hopefully one day we're like genreless, but I feel like we kind of, go in and out of them anyways now, and it's getting more so like that, which I do love.
Let me see. So so as an artist, do you see yourself as a like introvert artist or an extrovert artist?
Okay, introvert artist. And I say that because when I get around people and like that I'm super close with, I'm an extrovert. I'm a social butterfly when I feel comfortable. But really when it comes to my writing process and my recording process and everything, I'm very to myself, and not in a sense of like, oh, I'm good on my own type thing. I just feel my safest to create when I am alone in a safe environment. And I haven't played out in a while, and I love to perform, but I have dreams of touring and doing all those things, but my best work is made by myself and then taken elsewhere to finish with others. And I would definitely say as an artist, I have been wanting to show more of my personal vulnerable side of like everyday life type thing, but I feel like I'm a pretty private person in general, and I feel like that's based on experiences in my past, and also when I have kind of shared too much about myself to others, it kind of came back and bit me. So I would say I'm an introvert artist for sure, but I'm pretty funny. And I love people, and I love making people laugh and connecting with people on deep levels. So I feel like an introvert extrovert mix, but artistry definitely introvert.
That's good. I feel like I'm like the same way too. I feel like whenever time I'm alone, I can just think the best.
Yep.
I don't have like just background noise. I feel like just kind of distracting me. And like it's just weird too, because like I feel like if once I'm like in the zone,
kind of funky. Sorry,
no,
I can turn it off if I need.
I think it's fine.
Is it affecting yours?
No.
Okay, cool.
We're good. I just feel like whenever like I'm alone and I'm just able to like speak out my own thoughts like out loud. I'm like always by myself, like just kind of like ABC, just out loud. I feel like I can just get everything down.
And there's beauty in. Some people might be afraid to be alone and sit with their thoughts, but sometimes life, like you get to a point where there's nothing else that can heal whatever you're going through than confronting the things on your own. I personally take everything to God, and being able to be by myself, and whether it's questions about my artistry or my personal life, whatever, there's nothing like a vulnerable, independent conversation with God and myself, I feel like I get so many revelations from sitting with myself and in prayer, but also at the same time being with friends and
right.
getting those revelations from another person's experience or story, or them pulling it out of you. So I think it's really important to have a balance.
I agree with that.
Because sometimes you can spend too much time alone, and that's kind of been me this
bad.
past year. You know, it's not healthy, and you start to kind of stop relying on anything or anybody, and that's not healthy either, because as people we need connection, and we need to be able to have people we can call on, and we're not meant to go through life alone. So yeah, you got to be mindful about the alone time.
Yeah, human connection is definitely needed. I feel like a lot of people don't really understand how much it is needed, but it's definitely needed.
You forget that.
I think also that's where music comes into play as well.
Absolutely.
Speaking of music, all right. So let's see what we got here. So what motivates you the most to get started on making like a new song? Like,
I think that where my issue was before was I always felt like I had to prove to people I have something special, which of course that's a healthy motivator. If you want to prove yourself to others, go ahead. But if that is your main intention, then you are never going to feel at peace with anything you do. For me, I have a little bit of OCD issues, and like actual OCD issues. And so creating the song, making the content is no issue for me. It's getting it to the finish line, mixing it, putting it out. Of course, finances too. It's always difficult to like be consistent with that. But my biggest motivator is I've always wanted to be a recording artist ever since I was a little girl. And I really think about little me, and she would even be proud of right now, you know? And so that kind of takes away the pressure of next move, because it's like all I ever wanted was to be able to, and I'm getting kind of emotional about it, was to be able to support myself doing music full time. And I'm so blessed to be able to do that now. So anything else is just bonus, you know what I mean? And I still have confidence issues and self-esteem issues when it comes to my voice and all that stuff. But I think my biggest motivator is just being better than who I was yesterday, talent-wise, person-wise, hard work-wise, and of course, people compare themselves to other people. But for me, really, the biggest regret I would ever have is if I'm sitting on my deathbed and I just did not take the chances that I could have taken out of fear. So I try to keep the confidence and just do my best, because I've killed myself over and over or beating myself up. That sounded morbid, by just being so incredibly hard on myself about thinking I would be here at a certain time in my life. And that has just only made me feel worse about myself. So giving myself that, you know, pat on the back for, you are already here and you're already doing it. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of continuing to do it. It kind of alleviates some of the stress that, you know, we already have so much stress in this field. So yeah, I would say little me is my biggest motivator. And plus, like, I just want to finish what I started, you know?
I do, yeah. 1000%.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself as like a perfectionist, or sometimes like that gets in the way?
My thing is like, I'm perfectionist in the way it's like, if it's not the way I hear it, we got to get it that way. Even if the way I hear it sounds messier or it's not as perfect as what someone else is trying to do. It's like, I have it in my head, and it's hard for me to explain or like show what I see in my head sometimes. So I get really frustrated with being able to explain my vision to somebody else. But I would say I used to be way more of a perfectionist. Like Landon, he can't mix my music anymore because we kind of were like, you know, this is our relationship. Mm-hmm. And like, I was trying to be too perfectionist, but we're like, you know what, we can like jump on each other's tracks and like, we can give each other notes, but let's not do this. Yeah. But I think I'm less of a perfectionist now. I just want to be able to get out as much music as I can in a way that doesn't feel rushed or half-assed. And I think there's a way to do that. I'm still trying to get that down.
That's fine. I mean, yeah, it's a part of your journey, and It's part of the creativity too.
Absolutely.
So I've been listening to your music for a while now, and it gives off like a classic '90s R&B vibe.
Love that.
With their own little personalization to it. So
I'm trying to get comfortable.
I know you're. So also, I seen that you made it to the semifinals in the international songwriting competition. Tell me about that.
I did. So last year, I got an email getting invited to submit to the competition, and I think that was like last August. And I guess a month and a half ago, I got word that I was a semifinalist. It was so cool. We got like this legit little flyer thing that was so cool. I actually just found out I didn't make it into the finals, and originally I went to the list and I thought there were no women on the hip hop lineup, so it kind of upset me a little bit because I'm like, well, at least there's no women representation on this list. And I found out that I think there's actually one, whether it's an artist or a writer, she made it into the finalists, so that made me happy. As long as there's some kind of women representation on that, I feel like it's a win regardless. And plus, I just feel so honored to be in the semifinals, and I can say that. That's
cool. That's so dope.
I think it was worldwide, so I think it was really cool. There were people out in Amsterdam, and just it was worldwide. And so it was cool, and I just feel so honored to have that included on my resume now, like a list of accomplishments. So getting that far, it was just a blessing regardless. And again, it's a win whenever there's a woman in the hip hop category.
Do you think you'll ever like submit again?
Yeah, why not? If I get invited again, of course. I think putting yourself out there like that is important. And even if it's a no now, it's not it maybe not be a no later. And that's the thing. People think after a couple no's or, turn downs, like, all right, I'm done. I've read so many stories of people like, yeah, like I submitted to this place 60 times, got it on the 61st time. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you can't be so sure of what the outcome's going to be because you might be pleasantly surprised. So
what's out there too.
Yeah.
You just never really know.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just kind of go down your history here. So you have 13 singles.
I do.
There's no EPs or albums.
That feels not yet.
But is there one on the way or
yes.
in the works?
Yes. So I have been, what's funny, if we're going back to the beginning, I have 2 acoustic albums from high school.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to promote those. Just know they're out there. They were underneath my full name. And that's kind of why I started just Gretchen when I got to college, because it's they were just acoustic. I was just doing what I could with what I had. And they were just, 10 or 12 songs of just me and my guitar. I've been working on and off on a project for a couple years now. 3 amazing producers. Okay. Josh, he did Paper Bird with me, and they've all, I've played with Josh and Disc live and everything.
I think I met them at the Junkyard Gym.
You did? Yeah. Great guys. Josh, Disc, and Luke, I'll say that. And it's actually the first volume of an EP I'm rolling out called the G Files.
Ooh.
And it's I've got some alternative R&B, and then one of the projects is boom bap R&B, one of them is straight R&B, one straight hip hop. So I'm slowly but surely pushing these, but for now the singles, and I got a little couplet coming out as well, just a 2-pack. And I'm doing this because I have so many unreleased songs that are just sitting, and there's so many different vibes, and yeah. I love them all, and I never want to put myself in a box with that. I have enough songs to make 3 albums. I just really struggle with big projects like that, attention span. Mm-hmm. And I would love to have the EP out by the end of the year, but for now, singles with my attention span is what we're doing, because I just got to keep continuing putting out stuff, whether it's a single or a project. So I think I'm still growing in that aspect of being able to start and finish something in a timely fashion. It's just so hard for me to do that. I get so overwhelmed. I think about the finances and the end part, mm-hmm. and it takes away from the present fun parts about creating a project. But I think, singles definitely coming, and then the little 2-pack will be coming as well. No clue when the EP's coming, but now that I'm out of debt, I'm ready to invest back into the music, which has been so hard to kind of like put on the back burner, but I'm
excited because, like I said, seeing you perform at the Junkyard Gym, hearing all this unreleased music, I was like, when is G dropping? When are you dropping all
and
this?
And everyone's always like, what are you doing? And honestly, it makes me feel like, it makes me happy that people are like, oh, I want you put out. But then I'm like, oh, what have I been doing? Like, what am I really doing? But all of those songs that I performed are part of, well, I released Paper Bird last year that I performed, but those are in the EP and the first EP, so hopefully those will be out.
Hey, I'm excited.
Soon.
I'm excited.
Thank you.
So you have a song, If You Needed Some Love, featuring Ryan Tucker that you released back in 2019.
And Joseph, yes.
That's your top song, I believe, on Spotify right now.
Oh, that's crazy.
And do you think is that a reason why like people gravitate towards that song so much?
What's crazy? So Ryan is the homie. Like, Ryan, from day one, freshman year, we've always just collabed and created such beautiful work. And Joseph, his friend from home, he actually pulled up. He's another producer, rapper as well. We just made a beat and that night recorded it all and then like did a little quick pitch and sent it off. And like, what's crazy is that we all had our own separate like personal things we were going through that kind of contributed to the overall message of that song. And I think it's just because we all spoke from our heart, and it's a bop. Like, I think there's a little splice beat in there. We just added drums and Joseph, dressed it up. But I remember we were sitting with our friend Jordan, and we're sitting in convocation. We had to like check off convocation hours at college. And I'm pretty sure it was Ryan's birthday, and we found out that it landed on Fresh Finds. And that was just iconic.
That's crazy.
And I think it was just the right time, the right place, the right vibe. And I love that song. And looking back, it's so funny because like, we were in such a rush to put it out. Like, still to this day, I'll hit Ryan and be like, my vocals are way too soft. And like, he's like, now that I'm listening, like, yeah, they are. And I'm like, also that pitch, like, a little pitchy. But I've learned that if the vibe is there, no one's even, who cares about that kind of thing. Right. So I love that song. It reminds me of when I first moved into my last apartment. Good times, bad times. It just came together so organically and like so quickly and kind of impulsively at the same time, but so happy with how it turned out. The
first song that you ever like released on Spotify was Cabernet.
Cabernet, yes.
In 2017, featuring Landon.
Crazy, yes.
So how did that song come to be?
So it's funny. So Cabernet, it kind of came about. Callaway Martin, he produced the track, and we were over at our friend Ted's house. I think this was like sophomore year maybe, and they're making a beat, and I heard it and said, I got it. I love this. I love this so much. It's funny, this was my cigarette era, so like if you listen back to my voice now to like, or from then to now, like you can tell I was smoking packs of cigs. But that song came about, and I wanted Landon on it so bad. At the time, Landon and I were just friends. We didn't start dating until I think senior year of college, technically senior year. But what's funny is at the time I had a little thing with Callaway, but we were all part of the same friend group, and we would just get together and they would pull out the beats they made, and we would just rap on them, sing on them. And that's how that came about. And I ended up recording the real vocals on campus in the Nice Studios. Our friend Luke recorded us, and it was such a vibe. And I still love Landon's verse and everything. And it was awesome. I am so happy that was the first song that was under Gretchen, because it really set the tone of where I was going, but it also provided something a little different than what I had been doing before. So Cabernet will always have a special place in my heart. I think I've performed it once or twice But I should pull that back out next live performance because it's a fire song.
It is, yeah. And like, so you released one song in 2017, two in 18, one in 19, three in 20, two in 21, two in 22, and then one for 23. And then you just released a song.
I did.
Just recently called
Slowly
Run My
but
Time,
surely, yes.
which is fire.
Thank you.
And it's probably my favorite. I think before it was Industry, but it
oh my gosh, real
top two.
Thank you.
Industry, you have a lyric in there. You said, "I knew before, but man, but the industry is toxic." So can you talk to us about your song Industry and what you mean by that?
So I guess we know kind of when you get to the higher ups in the industry, I feel like you lose a lot of yourself if you are not grounded prior. And when I say toxic, it's just, you are a product. You aren't really a person when you are in any form in the industry. And I just wish it was purely about your voice and your lyrics and the music. But of course it's about the image. Of course it's about how much money you can make a label and all these things. But when I mean toxic, it's just messy. There's a lot of amazing grounded people in the industry, but there's a lot of evil people too. And I think that when your name gets out there at such a young age, you don't even know who you are yet. And I'm actually very thankful for the path that God has taken me because I've learned so much about myself. And if I had, blown up in college, it would not have been good and would not have been healthy for me. I was a people pleaser. And like I said, I definitely had a bit of an ego. And, but yeah, I just wish it was solely about what you brought to the table rather than all that extra stuff. And, sometimes it scares me, being afraid of success because I am afraid of success. And I think a lot of times that's why I have held back for seasons of my life because I'm just afraid of where my gift will take me. But I'm in a very grounded space in my life and I have amazing people in my life. And so I know that the industry in full isn't toxic, but I've heard a lot of horror stories about even friends that I've went to college with that are have elevated a little bit and they haven't been treated well. And it scares me, but I think the more you know who you are, the less that can happen to you and the more say you have in what direction your career goes into. Because sometimes people come in not knowing what they want, and so they'll just do whatever someone tells them to do. I don't want to be that person.
I totally understand. So feeding onto that as well, do you think also too, like, you're kind of afraid of success is because of getting comfortable? You think being comfortable can also give setbacks?
I'm afraid of success because I never want to ever be less present in my family's life, in my friend's life. I just don't like change. I want to tour. I want to do all those things. I will do all of those things. But I'm afraid of naturally distancing because of being busy, touring, traveling, not missing out on real life things and missing out on family and time with family. And I think because I have that fear, that will never happen. I have a really tight knit family, but I'm also, I've always been afraid of something good happening. And it's crazy, why am I afraid of something good happening? I think that comes from maybe preventing myself from feeling disappointed. So I'm I'll just set the tone now and I'll just stay here. I'll stay in this comfortable spot so that I won't get let down or I won't be disappointed, even though I've been disappointed before and I'm okay. It'll be okay. I don't know where it stems from. I think it's also a confidence thing that I've been working through, that knowing what I have to bring to the table is actually something of value. And that is a lifelong journey of accepting yourself. But I know that the only thing standing in the way for my dreams is the way that I think about myself and the way that I think about my craft, because there are so many ways to get to where you want to go. It's not black and white, and I struggle with thinking in black and white. So
Hey, well, listen, feed on to that. You have a single called Bluffin'.
Yes.
Featuring Lil
That's
Chase
so
Williams.
real. Chase Williams. Shout out Chase.
And the outro in that song, like the outro, I think it's a bridge. I don't know what you call it, bridge and outro.
Yeah.
You and him did together was, I don't know, that's like my favorite part of the song.
Love. Thank you.
But the song does talk about isolation and like dealing with self-worth. So like you writing that song, that like really
Oh my gosh,
from,
don't even get me started.
That really came from the heart, I'm assuming.
It did because I think that I am sometimes too humble. Like, I've got all these accomplishments, keeping my trophies on the bedside where no one can see them but me. Why do I tuck myself away when I'm not even bluffing? Like, I have what it takes. And why do I look the other way? Why do I struggle with taking up space in a room, calling attention to the room? Like, when I have this gift that I was given. And why, and you know, I think a lot of it too is, it says, somebody said, I look lonely, I'm just so picky with my time. It's like, I have a mission. Like, I'm going to do what needs to be done. Like, go to the grocery, get my chores done, run the errands, work on music. Like, I have a social life, and maybe I do look lonely. Maybe I look like a loner. No, I don't feel like a loner. I just I know what I need to do while I'm here on earth. And it might look different to you, but in my head, it makes sense. Like I'm fully just trying to work through things in my life and also continue putting myself into my craft and then going to sleep and waking up and do it again. You know what I mean? And pull up to the function just to see what it's like. It's like, yeah, I'll pull up. Like, I'm not completely alone all the time, but I just love being in my space. I feel my best when I feel comfortable. I feel safe. And yeah, once in a while I'll pull up to a function, but it's not really my lifestyle. I'm not a drinker or anything like that. So, you know, I'm about the business, you know?
Yeah. So how did Chase, like, how'd you get Chase on this?
So yeah. I knew I wanted a feature, and there was a couple people I had in mind, and we ultimately went with Chase, and he just came over. I remember he came over. This was at the time he was still living in Murfreesboro, so he came over and we made pancakes, and he slept on the couch, and we just recorded his verse. He came and wrote, and it was just one of those things that happened organically, and I love Lil Chase. I think he's so talented. And it was perfect. And he actually ended up helping me with the lyrics on the back and forth on the second verse for my part too. So it was just fun getting in the creative space with him.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So I know like he's young and he's also trying to make a name for himself. Yes. And I know like he sees you, Landon, Chase Murphy, Zane. He sees like all you guys as like his mentors.
Oh,
so
I love him. Yeah, Landon's the OG mentor. Yeah.
So like how do you feel about like how do you feel about that? But also, what do you have to say for like young people trying to get into making music?
I think that, first of all, love Lil Chase. Like, I've always, ever since I met him through Landon, and at this point they're like brothers, and like I see him as my brother too. I think it's so sweet. I also have mentors of my own who I gravitated towards and who have helped me along the way. So it's just like the cycle continues type thing. And I think we all have something to learn from someone else, and vice versa with something to learn from someone younger than you, and all of that. Young people, I think that you are the only person in your way of anything you want to do. And I think sharing your music and not being afraid of criticism is so important. And I think not taking that personally is a huge thing, because you can tell when someone's giving you criticism if they're just, you know, like they love you and they are like, hey, how about try this? Or someone who's just giving criticism because they're bitter and mean. So yeah, don't be afraid to take notes from other people. And I think what Landon and Chase have is so beautiful, because like I said, they're like brothers now, but they learn so much from each other. And having that support system again is so huge in you pursuing dreams, because some people just were not blessed with a support system in their family, and that doesn't mean that you can't find one elsewhere. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing, and I've learned just as much from Chase as he has from Landon or from myself. So yeah.
That's dope. Yeah. So getting to music, Starting with music, do you find it easier to start with a beat or lyrics?
I used to start with poems. Really? And writing. I would honestly write lyrics all throughout classes and school and in Belmont, and I brought my journal everywhere, and people thought I was taking notes when really I was just trying to write some bars. It depends. I do call myself a producer, but I think I know just enough to know what's going on in a room, you know what I mean? And get demos done and all those things. I am a producer. I'm not trying to downplay that, but my music theory could be a lot better. I know enough to get ideas down, and then I usually like to take it elsewhere. But I think lyrics for me, and then if the beat comes first, then I like to do melody passes and clip melody passes and then write lyrics so that you know melody and lyric both equally strong. So it kind of depends on how it starts initially, where the inspiration stems from. Sometimes I'll just be making a smoothie or making tacos, and I whip out my phone because I feel a melody and I'm like,
just going through everyday life, and then something. Yeah.
So it really just depends. It comes from anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you find your weakness when it comes to making music?
My weakness?
Yeah.
Not consistency, taking it to the finish line. Okay. I can get as far as to recording, writing, mixing, and then when it comes to the actually mixing process is where I get a little anxious because I think it deters me from finishing stuff as fast as I could. I think that, and also making TikTok content and outdoor content on other medias,
promoting it.
It's so difficult. I'll drop something and for 2 weeks I'm listen to my song, and then I just don't, and I'm like, girl, you gotta continue. And I think it was something Russ said. He was like, keep promoting songs from a couple years ago. People will be hearing it for the first time and go listen to it. And I'm like, dang, I could even be promoting Cabernet still, you know, which is freeing to know that, I have plenty of songs to advertise, but I think the promotional side and just getting the song actually finished and submitted, those are just the hardest things for me.
Listen, I'm not really musically inclined, so I really wouldn't know, but that's but definitely I feel promoting any type of creative content out there is definitely important.
Oh my, absolutely. Showcasing yourself and just being your biggest supporter is so important. Being loud with it, being unapologetically confident about what you are putting out there. That's what separates you, and that's what gets you to where, or at least in the direction of where you want to go. It's you can't just put out a song and be like, bye, see you in a couple months, especially when you are an independent artist trying to get on the maps. And that's really where I run into a lot of issues, because I'm like, I could be doing a lot more in the promotional field, and this is the time to be loud with it, because I am trying to get turn people's heads and put them on to what I have to offer. So I have to remember to be my biggest supporter, because no one else is going to do that for you. People can support and get you opportunities and stuff, but only if you allow that, and allow people to see that you are actually your biggest fan too. So
yeah, some people might come off as oh, you keep showing the same thing, the same verse, same song. It's oh, you're being obnoxious. Oh, you're being narcissistic. But in reality, you're just trying to promote what you created
and then
your art.
And then that's how some people go viral, and it's they wouldn't have had that if they weren't so consistent, even with that one verse. Someone I really admire is Haley Knox. I don't know if you are put on to Haley Knox. I found her through TikTok. She is crazy good. Yes. She takes advantage of every talent, and she takes advantage of TikTok, and TikTok's actually what set her off, and she's gained so much success from being unapologetically herself, being consistent, promoting over and over the same things. I just admire her, and I love her work so much, which I can't wait to ultimately, collaborate with her one day. But she's someone I really look up to, because she just didn't stop. She just kept promoting the same thing, and it caught, and she's got an amazing fan base now, and she even though she has gotten it, she still does it. And I'm like, there's never a finish line when it comes to promoting and putting out showcasing your talents. And
also, it's just like, I think she's just passionate about it. When you're passionate about something, you're just gonna keep doing it forever and ever and ever. Even though you may take breaks here and there, but
absolutely,
it's something you just love.
It's so important.
I like. There was a TikTok of hers. She's like, I don't know. She's like in a Sam's Club. I don't know where she is, but she's like in public,
and she's making making
making a beat. It's crazy. I'm just like, wow.
And that's what's so refreshing and so. I'm like, what's going on? That's what's so refreshing. It's like she's so unapologetically herself and so confident in what she has to offer. And I try to surround myself with those people and engage with those kind of people. I love being around people that I can learn from and be inspired by. I think it is so important to, like I said, going back to mentors, have people in your life that you look up to, and also then take that and give it to someone else what you've learned. I just want to continue working on my craft and feeling inspired by the people around me.
And also just kind of feeding off each other's energy.
Yes.
And just like, it's just an
absolutely
endless cycle.
Oh, yes.
Endless cycle. All right, so performing. So how many times have you performed?
I've performed a lot. So what's funny is I actually found out about Belmont through the Beach Boys, because I performed on a little side stage before they performed at this place called Innsbruck in Richmond, and I won this thing called Richmond's Got Talent when I was in high school. And I was able to perform before some amazing artists, B.B. King, rest in peace, just amazing, beautiful people. And I would just go and play my guitar. And I played like weekly for a couple years in high school. I played just guitar when I got to Belmont. I haven't performed in like a year, partly because it is very expensive to pay a band, and I don't want to take on anything that I won't be able to then pay the people that are up there with me. Like that's their job too. I've performed a lot, and I used to be so terrified of performing when I was behind, or when a band was behind me. Specifically, there was this show I played for BMI, and this was probably 2019. And it was my first big industry show. I was terrified, but I ended up having such a good time, and you know, you get the usual butterflies like everyone does, but I love performing. I just wish I had the means to do it more than I have been able to now. I love it. I love talking to the audience and just creating a chill environment, because like I said, like end of day, of course I want to present myself physically in the best way and like look nice or whatever, but I really just want to bring people together and showcase my voice and my lyricism. And that's always been the forefront and the intention behind performing. I just want to connect with others.
No, I remember at the Junkyard Jam, it was my first time ever seeing you perform. I just love live music though, in general though. But I remember whenever you got on, it was your turn to go, and you were like, "Sorry guys, but I'm gonna sit down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna."
It's just more comfortable that way.
And just relax. We're just gonna vibe.
It's just like us vibing, and like I want to make that a thing, because I sit down for either full or a lot of my shows when I'm not dancing around. I want to get a big comfy chair to bring to every show with like a G on the back.
That'd be dope. That'd be dope.
And talking, and then I can get up and down as I please. But yeah, like I think that's why, like, and sometimes I'll wear no shoes, sometimes I'll wear slides. Like I perform in life, on stage, in music the best when I feel comfortable. And I think that if you can bring that comfort and merge it anywhere in any atmosphere, then you should. Like you should never feel like you have to do something just because this is how it's normally done. So I think it's about staying authentic to what feels the best to you while still pushing yourself to do these things, and stepping out of your comfort zone and staying consistent as a performing artist and a recording artist. So yeah.
Do you think like performing is probably like a huge like step from like actually just releasing music? Do you think it's like you think people will have high anxiety when they first perform, or will it be, you know?
I think...
Does it like depend on the person, you think?
I think it depends on the person, but I feel like there are some people who are performers and some people who are artists. For me, I feel like I fall in the middle. Like I love to perform, but I also love just recording the music, releasing it, and letting it do what it does. Some people I just see, I'm like, you are a performer. You have the it factor. You have both. You are the lyricist, the singer, the performer, everything. I think I fall a little bit in the middle, and I'm not afraid to admit that, only because like the kind of personality that I have, and I do love my privacy, and I do love my space. So I'm not afraid to get out there, do my thing, but the vibe that I bring to stage isn't something that like Ariana or Beyonce would bring to a stage. That's never been, I look up to these artists and all those things, but that's never been the path I want to take as an artist. I really want to just be able to perform when I can, tour, but keep it here. Like, let's showcase the talents, and I don't have to do too much like on the outfits or the perform. I think that is what makes me who I am as an artist, the approach that I take for live shows and stuff. So I think it depends on the person, but right away I see people in my brain like they are a performer. They could go on a 2-year tour and kill it. Me, I couldn't do that. Like I want mini tours. I want to go all over the world, but I need space to come back, replenish, reset, because that kind of lifestyle has never been for me, but I still want it, just on a smaller scale.
It could be so draining, I feel like.
So draining.
Because like you're going to city to city, and it's just crossing state lines every day.
Oh my gosh,
it's just
absolutely.
I feel like it puts a lot on someone. I remember watching a documentary about Logic, and he had just finished like wrapping up for his tour, and he was on a tour bus, and he just started crying.
It takes so much. Yeah.
It's crazy. So yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah.
But do you think, speaking of performance, do you think live music sounds better than the track?
Depending on how much nerves the artist has, how comfortable they are on stage, it could be better in person. 'Cause I think perfectly imperfect is beautiful. Like imperfections of pitch and like different ways of singing on stage, like it's more real. It's like you feel the emotion sometimes more than you would in like a pitch corrected track. Specifically too with players, like if they're really feeling it, they're going to go all in even more than they did on the track. So I've seen a lot of people perform live that sound even better than the track. I think it depends, but also I know, being like a fan in the audience, there's just this feeling you get when you are all come together and listen to something or listen to someone that you've come to see, and it is a feeling like no other. And then also being that artist on stage, it is like a drug. Like it feels so good to get up there and provide an environment for people to come and just jam and like connect. And yeah, I think sometimes the live music hits different.
It does. And like I remember working for WRFL at UK, it's like a radio station, and we would always have like bands come and play live every Wednesday night, or we would have like little events where bands would come in. And like I was never like a person like a fan like a rock. I mean, I listen to rock here and there, but it'd be like a lot of like just indie rock bands, and I just feel, and like them coming to play, it just sounds, and it does feel different.
Yeah, it does.
It's crazy. So like, and then I would like go find them on like Spotify. I'm just like, it doesn't hit the same. But live music is just crazy.
It's crazy. I'll never forget seeing Wiz Khalifa live at Virginia Beach. Like this was, I think, like 2016, and we went to the amphitheater. I'd never seen him live. He is he was one of my biggest inspirations when it came to rap and production, Currency. And seeing him live, I was just in tears. Like everyone was singing and rapping along, and people were becoming friends with the people next to them, and it's just an unreal experiences, especially when you're like a diehard fan of somebody. Like finally seeing them in person. It's just, there's no other feeling. And that's why I just can't wait to facilitate the vibes. Like one day when I can tour like that. It's special, and it's such an honor to be in that position. And yeah, I can't wait to do that. And I know that day will come, and one step at a time. But I just try to stay patient and then do all I can in the moment rather than making excuses for why I can't do something right now.
Hey, listen, for that day, I'm going to be there.
You will be there.
I'm going to be there. So
you will be there.
And I'm excited too.
And you've always been so incredibly supportive of everyone. Like I feel like you've been just an amazing friend, and you're just so talented at what you do, specifically with Landon and everybody. Like you've always pulled up for the important stuff and really helped put us on. So I appreciate that so much.
I try. That's like one thing is like I was always taught just to be humble. Like I grew up not really having a lot, but so like I just know like when I do have it, I'm just gonna, spread the wealth because you all also are been amazing. You guys have been amazing friends, and every time I come down here, it's just nothing but love.
Yes.
It's crazy because like 3 hours is a long. It's a
like
long
the fact
way,
that you do
like,
that, like
it's really out of love. It's literally just out of love. I just love coming down here too. So.
I love it.
But yeah, I think we touched literally everything.
We did.
We got to know you as you, and not just your music, but you and your music. Again, I don't really know what I'm gonna call this. Like I said, I think maybe like vibing underground.
Love it.
And see where that goes. But it's been.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I was telling him I've like done little interviews here and there before, but I don't think I've ever had a real sit down interview video podcast thing like this ever. So I'm really excited.
I think it takes people out of their comfort zone.
Yes, and I love it.
Something new. So
yes.
All right,
you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
We should go check out G.
Thank you.
Check out all her music. Follow her on all her socials. And we'll see who else will get on here next. We'll see.
We'll see ya.
Peace out.
Peace out.